The omen spire drifted in the void like a cathedral exiled to silence. It was neither human nor alien in design, neutral ground, built by the Concorde's oldest engineers, where gravity was an afterthought and the walls absorbed whispers. Nothing echoed here. That was intentional. Lieutenant Elias Rains stood still inside the assembly chamber, eyes fixed on the curved obsidian table before him. 12 seats. 11 occupied. 11 species. 1 human. His presence made them uneasy, though none said it outright. The quiet was charged, brittle, like glass before a crack. Valtari rose. She moved with the unnatural grace of her kind, Zarn, crystalline-skinned, tendrils of soft light trailing from her temples like drifting silk. Her eyes didn't blink. They pulsed. Human, she began, voice a chime folded into breath. We have long tolerated your species' peculiar aversion to psychic integration. But now, with talks of alliance on the table, we require clarity. Emotional verification. Mental alignment. Mutual openness. Elias didn't answer at first. He glanced around. The Tridari blinked their vertical eyes. The Zkane shifted their layered mandibles. Even the cold-blooded Viaria watched him like a puzzle. Finally, Elias spoke. You want to read me? A brief surface communion, Valtari confirmed. Merely enough to prove sincerity. He exhaled slowly. I'm sincere. I'm also warning you. The silence deepened. Warning? Asked the Iktesh, voice like grinding glass. You touch a human mind, it touches back, Elias said evenly. We're not like you. We weren't built for telepathy. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. The only thing we trust more than our instincts is silence. Valtari tilted her head. You fear vulnerability. No, Elias replied. I fear what you'll see. The delegates conferred via flickering signals and coded hums. A consensus was reached in under 20 seconds. None of them saw danger in a solitary human's mind. Arrogance had always been easier than imagination. Valtari stepped forward. Her fingers shimmered like molten crystal. Will you comply? Elias met her gaze. You really think this is a good idea? It is necessary. Then go ahead, he said. Just remember you asked? She touched him. The chamber's lighting dimmed slightly, or perhaps perception warped. Elias barely twitched. But Valtari's expression shifted at once, stillness giving way to hesitation. Inside, she began her scan. At first, it was structure, memories, thought patterns, emotional pathways. But none of them were clean. Every corridor branched, splintered, looped back through itself. She found rage stored beside sorrow, triumph beside terror. A mother's face blurred into battlefield fire. A child's laughter twisted into an echo beneath falling rubble. The human mind wasn't a temple, it was a labyrinth, pulsing with heat and hunger. Still, Valtari pressed deeper. She expected resistance. She found invitation. Not a trap, an abyss that welcomed her, She dropped into it. On the surface, Elias was still. Internally, he knew the moment she went too far. He'd felt it before, during covert field scans on Helios 9, when the enemy used mind-rippers to peel open memories like fruit. But back then, they couldn't reach the bottom. Couldn't touch what lived underneath. She just had. Valtari's breath hitched. She stood amidst charred ruins, Elias' memory of war, yes, but more than that. The emotion of it. She felt the mud under his boots, the blood in his throat. Smelled ozone and gunpowder and rot. Saw comrades falling. Saw Elias standing up when no one else did. Again. And again. And again. The horror wasn't what he'd seen. It was that he endured it without breaking. No alien she'd ever read had contained this. Not like this. Not layered, not alive, not watching back. She looked up. And something in the dark turned toward her. Not Elias. Something older. Something wrapped around Elias' trauma like armor forged in grief and heat and madness. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. It remembered her. Outside, Valtari's lips parted. No words came. Her fingers twitched. One of her luminous tendrils frayed, flickered. Elias' eyes opened slowly. You seeing it now? He asked, almost gently. She staggered back. Her hands trembled. Her knees buckled. And then, in a burst of psychic backlash, she screamed. Not vocally. Not aloud. The scream came through every mind in the room. The Zkane collapsed to their knees. The Tridari clutched their heads. A bulb on the ceiling burst. The Iktesh screeched and scrambled for the door. Valtari collapsed, bloodless fluid weeping from her crystalline pores. Her neural tendrils sparked and dimmed. She hit the floor in silence. Elias didn't move. The silence was absolute. Then he stood. Never said I was dangerous, he muttered. Just said you wouldn't understand. He looked around. I still want peace. Valtari's body trembled on the floor of the chamber, crystalline skin fractured, veins of biolight flickering erratically like a dying star. The tendrils at her temples lay wilted and dark. No movement. No sound. Just her, sprawled across the cold Ella like a broken relic. Elias remained still. He hadn't drawn a weapon. Hadn't raised his voice. But across the circular chamber, alien delegates backed away as if he carried a plague. The Iktesh crouched low, defensive. The Tridari hummed frantically among themselves in ultrasonic panic. One of the Viario lifted a claw, aiming something sleek and lethal at Elias' heart. He ignored it. His eyes stayed on Valtari. She forced a link, he said flatly. I warned her. You assaulted a telepath of the Confederation, snapped the VRUL delegate. No, Elias replied. I survived one. The guns stayed up. The silence pressed in. Then came the voice of Consul Drevik, the arbiter species. Cold, neutral, and ancient. His fleshless face barely twitched as he spoke. Explain. Elias looked at him. She entered without permission. No mental buffer. No filters. She dove headfirst into the deep end of something she didn't understand. What exactly does that mean, human? He hesitated. Then answered truthfully. It means she found what's left after everything else burns. Inside her collapsing consciousness, Valtari fell. She wasn't in control. She wasn't even herself anymore. She was memory and thought and instinct, spinning through the fragmented storm of Elias' mind. She stood inside an abandoned trench, one of his memories, maybe. Rain poured sideways. Explosions shook the horizon. A child screamed behind her, but when she turned, it was an empty helmet. Next came a city, nightmarishly quiet, buildings half-eaten by fire, sirens wailing in reverse. Then it all went dark. And from that darkness came presence. Not Elias. Something deeper. It had no face. No voice. But it filled the void behind Elias' memories, like a tide pressing against glass. A mind too vast to map, forged not by nature, but by survival. Ancient pain encased in steel thought. It didn't attack her. It studied her. And then, it remembered. Not her, exactly, but her kind. Telepaths. Probers. Judges. It had encountered them before. And it had buried them. A voice finally came. Not in language. In shape. In pressure. A psychic whisper made of fire. You are not welcome here. In the real world, Elias took a step forward. Lower your weapon, he said to the VRUL. She collapsed, the alien snarled. You broke her. Elias' voice hardened. I tried to stop her. She overreached. She was a master whisperer. Exactly. And now she's bleeding light on the floor. He took another step. The VRUL hesitated, still aimed. Elias didn't blink. Shoot me if you want, he said. But I'm your best shot at keeping her alive. The VRUL faltered. The consul made a sharp motion. Stand down. The weapon lowered. Elias knelt beside Valtari. Her eyes flickered open, barely. No recognition. Just fear. Her lips parted, breath rattling, tendrils twitching faintly. She wasn't broken physically. Her neural lattice was intact. But her mind was screaming. In the depths of her collapse, Valtari tried to speak. Tried to flee. She saw Elias now, not as a soldier, not even as a man, but as a gate. And behind that gate stood the worst of what humanity had ever endured. Death. Fire. The gnawing silence between wars. And something older, watching. She understood now. Humans hadn't blocked telepaths. They had survived them. Her species had underestimated them, viewed them as young, emotional, primitive. But humanity had evolved under relentless pressure. Everything else had cracked. Humans adapted. Their minds weren't wild or chaotic. They were engineered by suffering. And the deeper she went, the more she saw extinction events, entire planets burned clean, children trained to kill before they could read. And Elias? He had walked through it all. Not untouched, but intact. She collapsed again into the dark. Elias rested a hand just above her forehead, not touching, but present. She needs grounding, he said. Her mind still inside. Lost. No one can survive that depth. One of the Tridari said, awe in their warbling tones. She's not dead, Elias muttered. She just hit a part of us no one was meant to see. The consul's voice again. And what exactly did she see? Elias didn't answer immediately. Then, the part of the human mind that learned to keep living after everything else died. The chamber was still. Delegates stared, not in accusation now, but something quieter. Something closer to fear. She entered your mind with intent to assess, the consul said slowly. She found the truth, Elias replied. And it broke her. Silence again. Then, faintly, from Valtari's lips came a whisper, barely a vibration, no language, just a shiver of sound that brushed the minds of those around her like a feather drawn across the brain. The empathic translator gasped. What did she say? The consul demanded. The translator swallowed. She said, it's not madness. It's evolution, A ripple moved through the chamber. Even the Iktesh shifted in quiet reverence. Elias stood. She'll recover, he said. But she won't be the same. And you? The VRUL asked quietly. What are you, Elias Rain? He looked them each in the eye. I'm human, he said. And then, after a pause, added. Which means I've already survived worse than you can imagine. The medics floated Valtari's body into the containment cocoon with reverence more than urgency. Her neural tendrils were still flickering, but no longer spasming. Her mind was quiet now, dangerously quiet. Elias stood apart from the other delegates, arms crossed, expression unreadable. The chamber hadn't resumed its proceedings. No one dared speak first. Something in the room had shifted permanently, and everyone knew it. The consul turned toward him at last. Explain again what she encountered, he said, voice calm, but lacking the indifference he had shown earlier. Elias tilted his head slightly. I don't think I can. I don't have the language for it. Try. Elias inhaled through his nose and stepped forward, not aggressively, just enough that they all had to listen. She didn't see anything I tried to show her. She went straight past the surface, past memory, thought, logic. She slipped under the mind and landed in what kept me alive when reason didn't. He paused. You wanted transparency. She got it. Unfiltered. The VRUL's voice rumbled from the far side. That wasn't transparency. That was a weapon. No, Elias replied. Weapons are built. That part of us, it was forged. The Tridari delegate leaned forward, membranes twitching. Forged in what? Elias looked him dead in the eye. In everything that tried to kill us and failed. Inside the medical chamber, Valtari stirred. Faint pulses of light blinked along her crystalline skin. Not steady, not yet, but deliberate. Her eyes opened. No panic this time. Just raw awareness. The medtech scrambled to check vitals, scan her lattice, assess damage. But Valtari waved them away. She sat up slowly. Unsteady, but composed. I need a psychic relay, she whispered. One was brought. The console's translator orb lit mid-sentence. Incoming empathic feed from Valtari. The room stilled. The message came slowly, not as words, but as shape, tone, and essence, the kind of communication that didn't translate cleanly. It brushed their minds like soft flame. Personal. Unmistakable. They are not broken. They are not blank. They are becoming. The silence that followed was absolute. The VRUL lowered his head. Even the Iktesh twitched with uncertainty. She speaks of evolution, the Tridari said, almost reverently. But into what? Elias didn't smile. He simply met their gazes, one by one. Something that won't shatter when the universe leans too hard. The consul folded his spindly hands together. And the thing behind your thoughts, the presence, what is it? I don't know, Elias said. Some say it's just trauma burned too deep to heal. Others think it's what comes next. You believe it's part of all humans? I think, Elias said slowly, that every death world breeds something that doesn't die easy. Maybe we're just starting to find out what that looks like in us. No one spoke for several breaths. Then the consul's eyes narrowed. And do you still wish for peace? Elias didn't flinch. I do. We're not looking for a war. But if one comes, we won't be the ones screaming. They signed the treaty 2 hours later. Not because they trusted humanity. Because now, they understood them. The document was sealed with biosignatures and witnessed by the assembled minds. Elias was recorded in the annals as Human Delegate Unreadable, a title given only to entities the psychic races could not map, categorize, or fully comprehend. The term hadn't been used in over 900 years. Later, as the delegates began to leave, one of the Tridari approached Elias. You contain storms, it said quietly. Elias looked down at the creature, wings folded tightly. Most of us do. And you hide them so well. We have to, Elias answered. You wouldn't like what happens when we stop. Outside the chamber, Valtari waited. Still pale, still trembling, but awake. Alive. Changed. She looked at Elias. He stopped beside her. I went too far, she said, her voice no longer musical. It was human now. Rough. Worn. I tried to stop you, he replied. You carry pain, she said, struggling to form the concept in his language. But it's more than pain. It has direction. He nodded. We don't let it consume us. We let it carry us. She blinked slowly, then bowed, not diplomatically, but with respect. I feared you were unstable, she admitted. Now I see it differently. Elias watched her a moment. We've been alone in our heads a long time. Maybe too long. Maybe not long enough, she said softly. Then she stepped aside, letting him pass. The shuttle ride back to the human vessel was quiet. Elias looked out at the void as the stars slipped past. Not peaceful. Not empty. Just watching. He felt it still. The presence. The thing that stirred whenever a blade was drawn, whenever fear clenched his throat. Not evil. Not violent. Just awake. It had no name. But now the galaxy had seen it. And it remembered them.